Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's been said before, there are two things in life you can count on: death and taxes. I'm sure you've heard that. Death and taxes. Make it three things: death, taxes, and change. Life is going to change. Things are going to happen. What happens when you get thrown a curveball? Something you were totally not expecting, whether it was logistics, whether somebody did something you weren't planning on them doing, something maybe out of character. How do you deal with that? We're going to dig deep into that today. She is the creator of Healthy Mindful Self. She helps people get their lives together in terms of their mindset. And also with that, she has a vast background in medicine, pharmaceuticals. So she's all about meditation and medication. And she's back with us. Dr. Lisa Nezneski is on the program. Hi, Lisa. How you doing?
I'm good, Steve. How are you today?
I'm well, and I'm so happy we're talking about this because we've talked about a lot of different things over the past bunch of episodes, but this one, it's kind of like the baseline for all the other stuff because change is going to happen. You got to expect it. It's funny we're talking about this, but 15 minutes ago, I was reading my horoscope for this week, and it pertains to what we're talking about. Can I read a little bit of this?
Absolutely.
And forget about what sign I am. It doesn't even matter because what this says is what we're saying that you need to be prepared for. Here it is. Uncertainty is a normal part of life. Don't try to plan your way out of it. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is to remind yourself that life will happen no matter what, even if that means upending everything you thought had worked out. Instead of letting it frustrate you, look for the opportunities. We've always said that. What's the lesson that can present themselves in the unexpected moments? Doesn't that kind of say a lot right there?
That's perfect. That's really perfect. You're right about uncertainty is always going to happen. And you mentioned whether it's someone did something or someone didn't do something, but you weren't expecting it. That's the main thing.
Yep.
And dealing with your own reaction to the situation is what I've been working through for the last 48 hours. So, which is really interesting to me. I wanted to bring in a situation that I didn't expect and felt a little disappointed by what had happened. A lot disappointed by what had happened. Let's be real. And I didn't want to push it away. It's I want to come to these sessions that we have with my best version of myself, but I was struggling with, I don't want to push it away, that I don't want to just compartmentalize it. This needs recognized. This is important. So I appreciate that you're allowing me to talk through some of
Sure.
this.
Sure.
And I thought, you know what, I'm going to light this little candle that's sitting on my desk, and it's going to burn here all day, and it's going to be my thought, my object to remember that I'm still dealing with this, that I've got other things to do, but it's still here, it's still present. I'm not pushing it away, and I'm just kind of letting it sit there. So my biggest problem, I think, in dealing with other people in general is that I don't react well to unexpected things. So I've learned over the years to look at my part in that. Was it my expectations that were unrealistic? Possibly. Was I expecting something else? Was I led to believe something else based on previous behaviors and things?
Yep.
So I wasn't going to, I wasn't going to get myself all wrapped around the axle. I'm trying to be very circumspect and learn from this particular situation, so that as I'm here today at work, here working with you, that it's not influencing me to the extent that I can't think straight. A couple of hours ago, I could have said I wasn't thinking straight, but right now I'm feeling a little bit better about the whole situation.
So this sounds, if I may, and we don't have no detail needed unless you're feeling it. It sounds like somebody did something out of character, unexpected.
Uh, yes, and several others did things in character that were expected, but it all happened at the same time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not minimizing what you're saying. I went through the same exact thing last weekend. Mind blow. Mind blow. It was like one of the most important people in my life did something dishonest, involved money. Don't need to go into detail. I was feeling the same exact way you are.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. And it was just like, what just happened? And I even, I knew it was like, this is way off base here. But I spoke with, some friends and they were like, their jaw dropped, like, what? And it's starting to resolve itself. The sort of other party is taking steps to resolve it. Um, Completely unexpected and like trust breached massively. And it's just dealing with
Right.
it. You got to deal with it. And it's just like, if that was me prior to 2 years, and that's kind of a new journey for me, I would have been like forget it. Like would have been upended. Now I'm just like, okay, all right, tap the brakes. We'll get past this. It's all right. There's going to be some changes after this, but to your point, sometimes these things are, just like you can't believe that. How is this even happening? And it's not a
Right.
not a feeling of victimness, because we never want to play the victim, but it's more
Exactly.
of like, what are they doing? like what? Seriously? You do the right thing and then other people do that. And it's like, how does that even all go together? So do you feel it when those things happen? You need time to process it? Because it sounds like that's what you did.
Oh yeah, I definitely need time to process it. And it sort of ripped open an old wound that I thought I had addressed. And I think
Hmm.
we're humans. These things happen. And by ripping open an old wound, it's kind of a favor because now I know that this has
Hmm.
not yet totally healed in the way that I want to just fluff it off and let it roll down my back, water on your back. Let's let it roll off. This is not rolling off. This is sticking. And so rather than it just festering, if you will, I'm allowing that wound to be there and say, yeah,
Can I
that,
ask you just, even for more understanding here, when you say ripped open an old wound, was it from the
right.
same party involved here, or was it a wound, say, suffered through somebody else, but it was the same kind of wound?
That's a great question. I want to say there's elements of both there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that that it's a pattern that I've experienced in the past. That when the original wound, who knows how long ago that actually happened, but it seems to recur,
Mm,
uh, and I don't want to allow that to occur again. So I want to look at, did I allow this to happen, or did it just, you know, um,
yes,
yeah,
I gotcha. And the reason I asked that is, um, this was for me, a wound that was from a different party, but the same kind of wound.
yeah,
And no one, even others involved, not in the situation but just surface wise, would never expected any of this from anybody. So my lesson here, and I'm going to say it now, and it's almost painful to say this: you can't trust anybody. I'm going to say it. Well, yes, you can. I take that back. You can
you
trust.
can.
You can trust one person.
Well, you can trust yourself. You're
That's it.
right. Um, but you can trust others to the extent that you know that inadvertent hurts will happen.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah,
Yeah,
expect something to happen at some point.
yeah. I mean, that's what a relationship is about,
Sure.
is that growth through the relationship, and it's not always sunshine, roses, and unicorns. So there's lots of times it's muddy and mucky, and you know,
And there you nailed it. When it comes to finances, don't trust anybody. Right. So I guess that's my
yeah,
lesson there, because I'm a very trusting person. I think there's, good in everybody. But yeah, so maybe we identified maybe a closer element there, because money changes everybody. It's crazy.
yeah,
Or it
yeah.
can.
You're right about that. you're right about that. And money can't fix behavior.
No,
Okay. You can't just throw money at it and expect it to be different, you know.
exactly. Yeah.
So um
So where are
yeah,
you in your dealing with the situation? So it's on your radar. I want to
yes.
go through the steps. You processed it. You're blown away. I get it. And
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, the dust a little bit has settled a little bit to where
Yeah.
you can deal with it. So now it's on your radar. Do I have these steps right so far?
Yes. Depending on how big the um, how major you feel that this incident is, how big your response is to it. I tend to get extremely low energy when things like this happens. Different than depression, because I've had depression. This is my body wanting to be still and just sort of reintegrate what has happened. And so, a day of stillness was not enough to
Mm,
process it.
mm. And
I needed
it's like
another.
Lisa just ran a marathon in a way,
Right, right,
an emotional
exactly.
marathon, an emotional marathon.
Emotional marathon that, what does it take, like 5, 6 days after you run a marathon for you to bounce back?
Mm.
My kids have run marathons, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So yeah. In fact, my daughter-in-law was the one who was running it when in the Boston Marathon the year that of the explosion.
Wow.
She was so fast, thank God, that she finished before the explosion.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so we were there waiting for her. Anyway, back to unexpected, these kinds of things, if you don't really address them, and I do intend to address it, it could, and I said, it opened an old wound or maybe created a new one. I'm not really sure. But at this point, the heaviness in my heart is there, you know, and I'm not going to just say, okay, life is great, I'm going to move on. No, this
Mm.
is here. It's here today for a reason. I'm talking about it for a reason. And I do know everything's going to be fine, no matter what. Everything's going to be fine. Like you said, things will work themselves out over time. So I
Can
tend
I,
to,
I don't mean to cut you off, but I
sorry,
want, as we go along here, do you think that you're saying that everything's going to be fine because it's the newer Lisa mindset that you've adopted? Like if you went
yeah,
back, let's say 10 years ago, would you be dealing with this in the same way and saying to yourself, well, everything's going to work itself out? There was I call them speed bumps in the road. Sounds like you and
yeah.
I dealt with a little bigger speed bump at this point with this situation. But do you think it's your mindset that's helping you move it forward?
Yes, when you drive in a rental car at the Pittsburgh airport, they're not speed bumps, they're speed humps.
Okay, fair enough.
They are humps, and they go the whole length of when you're driving the rental car back. So by the time you hit about the sixth or seventh one, you're like, oh my goodness, this is shaking my whole body. And that analogy is perfect for this because you do get a little shaken from it. It slows you down in your tracks.
Yep.
And and to reintegrate, how do I want to respond to this? Who do I want to be through this? What kind of person do I want to be through this? Do I want to I certainly don't to build. I want to, how do I want to discuss what happened, and how is there a path forward or not?
Yeah. Don't you find when these things happen? Well, let's go back. This goes back to the basics. You should be doing this anyway, but when these things start, crop up, make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you're
Yes.
hydrated, make sure you're eating properly, because a lot of times we just go off into like a little spin over here where I'm just not sleeping great. I'm thinking about this thing. I got other things to think about. And then you can't properly process. It's just you're a train wreck because you didn't get enough sleep, right?
Right. For me, I don't eat right. I could sleep. Sleep is fine. I figured that part of my life out, but but eating, yeah, I'm probably, oh, well, I made all comfort food yesterday. I made bacon and I made cookies. I
Hmm.
just made comfort food,
Yeah.
and it wasn't really a meal, but it was like, I'll have a little bacon now and maybe I'll have some later. It was like things
Yeah.
that I know taste good and will feel good in the moment. I need just a little bit of that comfort food kind of thing. But today I've got to eat like an actual meal, like a real person, not just snack on things. So yeah, that's my downfall.
I got you. Same here. I did the same thing all weekend, and I just stayed busy. I had a lot, things. Oh, let's go to a concert. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do this, and yeah, it was good. Try
Yeah,
to focus, and even the person involved in the situation that I'm describing, and you're describing one, they still want to, hang out and do things, and like things are different now until they get resolved. So I was like, nah, pushing that aside. Um, where do you
yeah.
think it's going to go in your situation? Again, don't have to get into detail, but how do you think it's going to? I'm not saying go away, but how do you think
Yeah.
it's going to resolve itself? Or how are
Um,
you going to resolve it?
I don't know. I'll be very honest with you. I don't know until I've processed a little more
Hmm.
and figured out the wise speech that I want to use to express how I feel, so that I can get it off my chest. Now, that might, for me, it might entail non-confrontationally writing it down on my favorite little things, flying wish papers. So these little flying wish papers that they're tissue paper. You write things down and you roll them up, and when you light them, they send things off to the universe. So
Wow.
depending on whether, and this one's fun because it's a unicorn, So there's lots of different ones, but yeah. So I'm gonna raid my own store and use my flying wish paper to
Wow,
kind of
I love
find
that.
something.
I love that
Yeah,
idea. And so many, we've said it before, where sometimes you just need to write it down and, burn it, throw it away, whatever it might be. But this is more impactful where I don't have to worry about something smoldering in the garbage. You go outside and throw
yeah.
it to the unit, kind of throw it to the universe.
Yes, exactly. That's one of my favorite things. So yeah, I'm probably only about 25% through this one. I've not made my way through it far enough
Hmm.
to say, how is this going to resolve? That's still a bit yet unknown.
So you
But
haven't, you haven't, Lisa, confronted the other person involved or others.
no, I have
Okay.
not.
Okay. All
I
right.
have,
You're in
yeah,
we're in different places because I have done that.
yes,
And now it's on the other person to resolve the issue. So wait and watch. You different. And I could see how now why you're lighting that candle and why this is marinating, because it's a tough place to be in where you haven't, you can't fully find closure or something close to it unless you confront it, because now it's still floating out there in the back of your mind.
right,
Yeah.
right. It is.
Hmm.
It is. And
And you want to make it right.
I do want to make it right. I do want some type of resolution to it. It may not be the one that I want, but it may be the best overall for everyone. And I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
Even when I was served papers, this is a goofy story. It was like I just sold the house, split the money after the divorce. Well, in the early part of the divorce, the very next day I was served papers. I was sued for, as part of this retirement thing. So, or I'm sorry, divorce thing. So I got these papers and I should have never answered the door. It was night. I was not in the beach house. It was dark. There's no lights out there. But I answered the door anyway. And the guy said, "Are you my name?" And I said, "Yes." "And you've been served." I'm like, "Okay." So I closed the door, locked it, and the first floor of the beach house was just stairs. It went up, and the bedrooms were on the second floor and the kitchen was on the third floor. So I sat down on these stairs and there was a little like porthole window there. And this guy sat outside for like a half an hour. I sat there like wanting him to leave. I wasn't going to get out of, and I just slowly read through the papers. And when I realized what it was, I said, this is going to be for the highest good of everyone involved. And I repeated that over and over to myself until it was resolved almost 12 months later. It took a while, but when it was resolved, then it was a very freeing episode. So I've been through things that are way tougher than this. Way
Yeah. Oh, same,
way-
same. But all right, lots of questions here. In the divorce situation, was that expected?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
So here, and we're living the same life here. What's going on? It's like
It's called matching pictures, but go on.
unbelievable. And in 10 seconds, 15 seconds in my situation, I had just had surgery and it was 7 days later. I was still recovering, but I was able to get out. And my best friend said, let's just go out and have a beer and just celebrate. Things are okay. I'm like, all right, buddy, man, let's go. And then that's when I found out, in a phone call while I was still recovering and just, trying to get out. But would you say that situation where you were served, unexpected, talk about curveball? Would you say
Yes.
that is um, the flagship curveball that helps you deal with all the other ones when you put it into perspective? Like I can deal
Yes.
with that, and as you did, the other stuff. All right, we can. I got this. Lisa's got this. You feel that
Yes,
way? Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. That would be probably one of several unexpected things that happened to me.
Sure.
But one thing I do know about myself is that I can deal with these unexpected things. And one thing I told a girlfriend not too long ago is that I can function inside a tornado, which you shouldn't have to do that. But yet I developed that skill of things are just flying around me. But I'm the rock. I'm steady. I'm grounded. So I'm using all of those skills to help
Mm-hmm.
me through this particular episode. And no matter what, it's going to be okay.
Sure.
And it's going to turn out to be something that was meant to be anyway. I'm sort of fatalistic about this. If this particular behavior hadn't shown up now, it would show up later. And I'd rather know now sooner than later
Mm-hmm.
that this is the way things are.
Above
So
and beyond, it just seems like it's a major, 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 major disappointment. Does
yeah.
that kind of sound what
Yeah,
you're
I
dealing
would
with?
think maybe only two majors.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And would you say that when you were served back in the day, that you hadn't been a student of true mindfulness? That's where it began. And that's
Yes.
what changed your life and got you to the point where you are today. We're dealing with the situations like, yeah, it's not the greatest, but it'll figure itself out.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, this house was blown apart with Ian. I mean, it was still standing, but all the mold and all the other stuff. And it's an amazingly nicer house now. So
Mm-hmm.
my kitchen is amazing. I hung a Turkish lamp, the ones with the globes that hang down.
Totally.
That's in my meditation space that got
Ooh,
hung up over the weekend. So
wow.
I walk out of this office into a place that is mine, and I created this. And
What a feeling and what a difference that makes, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, amazing difference.
Yeah.
That yeah,
I did the same thing over the weekend and just I'm in between places right now, in between houses. Market isn't great. And I moved last year, but I did mulch, flowers, all of that, just, because that's me. That's what I did in my house. And, it makes me feel good. Like I come home, it's like,
exactly.
that's the way it should look, and you did it yourself. It's your space, your thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Uh, Great talk today. And thank you for the honesty and transparency in dealing with it. Cause I find everybody's got a story. And when you hear other stories, yours are similar to mine, and I never knew.
Uncannily similar.
Yeah, then you get a better grip on things. Like you're not, oh, I'm not alone. Other people are dealing with things that
Yeah.
pop up out of nowhere, right?
Right, exactly.
Best place to find you if somebody wants to reach out to you, to talk, to unpack something, to figure it all out is your website, right?
Yes, www.lisa.nezneski.com. And I'm going to give my phone number out on this one.
Sure.
It is 412-749-1070. And please, if you're struggling with medication, you're struggling with things happening in your life that you didn't expect. I seem to have a master's degree in all of that. So I'm happy to assist you with your mindfulness journey and your medications as well.
Well, that's what makes you different. You walk the walk, you talk the talk. You've dealt with it, you're honest about it. And that's why I asked you before how in your journey, the mindfulness after that major, it wasn't a speed bump, it was mountain at that moment. Got you through it. Got you through it. And I have a candle right here. So in my situation and your situation, I'm going to light it. Smells really good. For both of us. So our situations will resolve. It was great talking with you. Great doing these podcasts, Lisa. And I know some way along the way, the universe has put us together. I know it's going to happen again at some point.
Very good. Thank you so much, Steve. It's been a real pleasure working with you.
You too, Lisa.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.